Okay, chapter 11, we're going to talk about user charts and how to play around with the 9 active user charts. And here I'm going to use my hand. To think of the user charts, it's like 9 charts stuffed or stacked, one of them on the screen and the other 9 perhaps behind the screen. And all you have to do is go over here to this little number above where it says user chart and switch into the one you want. And here we have Lincoln, an elected president, and it switches the screen to whether it's a single wheel or a bi-wheel or a tri-wheel or heliocentric. It will switch it to whatever user chart number 4 is. And you notice we have given names to these. And if you want to name a chart, you just click on name, and it comes back with the existing name. And it makes a note here, you can only use alphabetic characters, numeric characters, an underscore, apostrophe, dash, and a space. Other characters do not translate well between the Macintosh and the Windows PCs, so we don't want you to use any characters. When they show up at your friend's location, all of a sudden what you thought was a right arrow turns into a percentage symbol, and it would kind of foul you up. So we limit you to characters that do translate from one platform to the other and back and forth without any problem. Well, we're going to leave that alone as elected president. That's just to show you how to set the name. And then I'm going to go back to chart 1, and we've got Capel McCutcheon. Let's say I want to save Capel McCutcheon with a day per year in the middle, and we'll bring it to the current time, and a transit on the outer, and I want to save this. So we go to main menu, and we go to user charts, and we hit save. And it says we want a number, or a name, and I'm just going to put in his initials. And we have group levels. There are only 9 of them. They're similar to favorites levels. It's just so you can group the user charts. And we'll give this group 1 since I'm using this on level 1 anyway. Optional comments if you want. Hit OK, and it'll automatically save. Now that save will be retained. If you quit Intrepid and come back up, all of the settings are not lost. Everything comes right back up, including whichever bodies were turned on and how many rings you had, whatever rings you had, what time the transit time was, it'll come back. Now if you want to take a look at that, you go to user charts and retrieve, and there's the database that shows the chart sets. A set being a single wheel, a bi-wheel, or a tri-wheel, not just a birth set of information. And you'll notice that we've added in CNM, and we've given it to group 1. And I've got a bunch of others that have to do with Lincoln, but if I had gone through all the different Lincoln charts, we would have been here all afternoon. But if we want to bring the death of Lincoln up and put it up onto user chart 1, which is, we're at user chart 1 now. If we click on that, it'll change, and we now have Abraham Lincoln's death time and day per lunation that we've brought up. But if we want to bring up Capel McCutcheon again, we go to user charts, retrieve, we go to CNM, and we are back to Capel and McCutcheon's birth chart. Now what you can do with these is import them and export them. And obviously import, export over here, same as with birth charts. And you can take these and you can send them to your friends. If you have a lot of records here, you can type, just like in the birth databases, you can type with a letter. And if we put in L, we only get those that start with an L. But since this list is fairly short at the moment, that's not too meaningful here. But in time, if you get a long list, you might find that fairly useful. And if you just want to look at one particular chart group, like we look at chart group 3, for example, all we see is chart group 3. Again, this becomes a lot more useful when you have a lot of charts out there. And we'll go back to all and show the whole list. Now, there's some things you can do when you have 9 active user charts. Now, what I did, of course, was I put in all these different events that are going on in Lincoln's life. But let's say you wanted to take one person and you wanted to give let's say user chart 2, you change the house to Coke, and user chart 3, you change the house to Campanus, and user chart 4, you change the house system to Equal House. Then what you could do down here is sync the sets, which I won't turn on because it'll destroy what I've got. But you could take a look at transits or progressions on a certain person, which you put on all 4 of the user charts, but each one in a different house system, and then move forward in time to certain events, and then all you have to do is switch from one user chart to the next, and you'll see how that chart looks in a different house system. You could also, if you're trying to rectify a chart and you've got 3 or 4 different times that you think are the right ones, you could use each user chart for a different time. And there are probably 18 other ways to use all the different user charts. If you wanted to look at 3 or 4 different people and how they interact, you could put a different person on each user chart, 1 on 1, 1 on 2, 1 on 3, and move them in time and see how these people interact. You might put siblings, for example, and look at the death of a parent, and then go from one to the next, and in each chart you'll see how does that impact that person. But you've locked the time, so you don't have to rebuild the time on the chart. We try to make all of this as quick and easy as we possibly can for the end user.